Welcome to the Israel Daily News Podcast. I'm your host, Shanna Fold, and I'm here to get you caught up quickly. I've got some top news stories for you today from Israel, and guess what? You're listening, so you're already on top of your game. Survive and thrive, people. Knowledge is the best weapon. Today is Monday, August 4th, 2025 in the Gregorian calendar and the 11th of Av in the Hebrew calendar. Now, let's get to the news. Jews across the world finished fasting and observing Tisha B'Av on Sunday after the sun went down. Tisha B'Av translates to the 9th of Av. Av is the name of the Hebrew month, and Tisha is for the 9th. This is the day that Jews mourn the destruction of two holy temples. 6 weeks ago, during the Iran attacks, a missile struck my apartment in Tel Aviv and reduced my home and my news studio into rubble. Since then, I've been living out of a hotel room where I record to you right now. I'm keeping what I was able to recover amongst several different friends' homes and a storage unit. It is impossible not to think of our ancestors wandering north, south, east, and west after Jerusalem was burned down some 1900 and 2000 years ago, each of those 1900 and 2000 being for each of the different destructions. It happened twice. As I walk through my own city of Tel Aviv today, I see the scars of war and displacement, but we have not been banished from the land by an outside occupying force, and I do not take that for granted. And no, that is not a dramatic statement. It has happened to us as a people many times. Specifically, it happened to us during the Babylonian rule and the Roman rule, in which Jews were violently pushed out of this land if they were not killed or raped first. This year, Tisha B'Av does not feel like ancient history. It feels immediate, raw, and painfully real. Our nation falls whenever us Jews fight internally, and we all know that. Even secular, non-believing Israelis will tell you that. They talk about baseless hatred out loud. That's the English translation, baseless hatred. It's a concept in Judaism. It's because Israelis know their history. They know that every time that the kingdom of Judea fell, it was due to fighting Jews within Jews right here in our land. Now the question is, how are we each showing up to prevent another heinous collapse? We must move forward with nothing but love for ourselves, our neighbors, and keep moving forward to maintain what we have. Hamas released harrowing new footage of Israeli hostage Eviatar David, showing him skeletal, starving, and digging what he fears is his own grave in a Gaza tunnel. His family says he has only days left to live and that he's being deliberately starved, calling him a living skeleton buried alive. The video is haunting and deeply disturbing. Advocates condemned international media for placing images of starving Gazans on front pages while ignoring the hostages' starvation. At Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, families pleaded with Israel, the U.S., and the world, calling on figures like President Trump to secure a deal to bring all the captives home. U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff vowed to prioritize a full ceasefire hostage agreement as families warn that, quote, time is running out. The videos were released as Jews honored the Tisha B'Av holiday by fasting and doing other mourning rituals like not sitting on chairs, sitting on the floor. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad terror organization, also operating from within Gaza, released a video just days earlier of hostage Ram Breslavsky, showing the 21-year-old pale, skeletal, and lying on the ground in Gaza. His family is furious and heartbroken. They say he's being starved and abused, and they say he has been broken. Israeli officials accused the PIJ of psychological warfare, and the family is demanding urgent action to bring him home. Foreign Minister Gideon Saar has announced that he's traveling to New York immediately to attend an emergency morning session at the UN Security Council focused on the hostages who are being held in Gaza. According to Saar, who spoke at a press conference in Jerusalem in front of a photo of captive Aviatar David, he requested the urgent meeting after Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad released these disturbing videos, and now he's going to be dealing with this live and in person in New York. Israel's President Isaac Herzog contacted the president of the International Committee of the Red Cross to urgently press for aid to Israeli hostages held in Gaza. Herzog highlighted the critical and worsening health conditions of the captives, calling on the Red Cross to intervene without delay. In a historic United Nations conference, the entire Arab League, European Union, and 17 other nations condemned Hamas for its October 7th attack and called for the terrorist organization to disarm, release hostages, and step down from power in Gaza. That happened on Tuesday of last week. This is shocking, and it's a first. The plan is outlined in what is being called the New York Declaration. It also sharply criticized Israel's actions in the war, including what they say was an Israeli blockade, civilian casualties, and ongoing settlement expansion in the West Bank or Judea and Samaria area. The plan, proposing a multi-phase path toward Palestinian statehood and regional peace with Israel, was jump-started by France and Saudi Arabia. The New York Declaration outlines a phased plan to end the 80-year Israeli-Palestinian conflict entirely and establish a Palestinian state. The plan went around to UN member states. They have until September to endorse it ahead of the General Assembly. The declaration also calls for an interim international force to stabilize Gaza following the ending of the Israel-Hamas war. Despite Netanyahu rejecting the summit and the U.S. refusing to attend, Arab leaders took a foundational step at this summit by explicitly condemning Hamas's terrorism and insisting that the group must relinquish political control. Countries endorsing the plan say Palestinian statehood is a necessary step toward lasting peace in the region. If you ask people here in Israel, most people will tell you they don't want Palestinians to have a state. They fear Palestinians having a full-blown army and continuing to repeatedly invade and wreak terror and havoc on Israel. So while this story paints a bright and sunny vision of a Palestinian state, most Israelis will tell you that is something that they fear, and the Prime Minister of Israel says it is something that would reward terrorism. But again, the historic part of this story is that at the UN conference, the entire Arab League condemned Hamas for its October 7th attacks and called for the organization to disarm, release hostages, and step down from power. That's huge. Canada joins France and the UK in announcing plans to formally recognize a Palestinian state at September's United Nations General Assembly, with other countries like Australia endorsing the idea, yet lacking a set timeline. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney states that the move is aligned with a long-held two-state commitment. The decision also is conditional upon Palestinian political reforms, including an election in 2026 without Hamas on the ballot, as well as demilitarization. France and Britain initiated similar motions, with France pledging recognition unconditionally by September, and Britain issuing a warning if Israel does not end the Gaza conflict and refrain from annexation. These announcements mark an international turning point as Western powers break from a stance with the U.S. The recognition of a Palestinian state by these countries follows international pressure and outrage over Gaza's starvation crisis. Keep in mind that the outlets who have been showing starvation have not shown images or video of the two Israeli hostages being starved in tunnels underground, with one of them being seen quite literally digging his own grave. Those images you're not seeing on the New York Times or the BBC front cover, like you're seeing other images of starvation coming out of Gaza. When it comes to Jews, we often find that the story is a little bit different. Certainly, those harrowing photos and videos were worthy of the front page, although it has been extremely shocking and distressing to see come up in my Instagram feed, social media, and in any of the news outlets that I go to read what's being printed about Israel here in Israel. The government has approved the dismissal of Attorney General Gali Baharav Miara, and the High Court of Justice has in turn blocked that move, meaning Baharav Miara will stay in power. The government and Attorney General's office have until Thursday to respond, and a court decision on the matter would take place within 30 days. In a ruling made last month, Deputy Chief Justice Noam Schulberg said no move to dismiss the Attorney General would be valid until the decision was reviewed and approved by the court. In the meantime, cabinet ministers say they would stop inviting her to government hearings and committee meetings effective immediately. Senior Emirati officials are demanding Israel replace its UAE ambassador Yossi Shelley amid allegations of misconduct. The UAE has formally complained to Israel on 3 separate occasions regarding his behavior. Emirati officials say Shelley conflicted with local security, breached diplomatic protocols, and impeded on both personal and business boundaries. According to Ynet, Emirati officials sent a message saying, "If he were from another country, he wouldn't last a minute. We'd throw him out." They say Israel hasn't taken any action yet to respond to this. The UAE has begun sidelining the ambassador by excluding him from official meetings happening in their country. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has a vision that goes beyond normalization with Israel. He aims to redesign the Middle East region through a strategic alliance with Israel that concentrates on security, technology, and economic cooperation. According to reports, the Crown Prince views normalization not simply as the goal, but as a foundation leading to a new Middle East order. He seeks U.S. defense guarantees, a civilian nuclear program, and progress on the Palestinian conflict prior to committing to any deal. This kind of agreement could dramatically shift the region's power balance, drawing many Israeli officials to pay close attention. If these plans continue forward, they could open the door to one of the most significant diplomatic realignments in decades, with Saudi Arabia attaching itself to Israel. These two powerhouses would make a large effect on the region. I want to thank all of you for your interest in Israeli affairs, Israeli politics, our world politics. I also want to thank all of you who personally finance and fund the Israel Daily News podcast with monthly contributions. A big thank you goes out to Ken Abramowitz for his latest support. Thank you so much. You can support us with contributions by going over to our website, israeldailynews.org, and clicking on donate. The Patreon link is over there, and you can send us a monthly donation using the Patreon link. There's also an option for a one-time donation on our site. Our organization is operational thanks to listeners and supporters like you. Thank you to Marianne Vollinger for her monthly support and good words. In response for your contributions, I'll send over a handwritten thank you note to show my appreciation. Follow us on social media at israeldaily.news. We're on X, YouTube, TikTok, and on Instagram. Our page is just under 40,000 followers. You can also follow my personal page at Shanna Fold. My name has 2 N's in it, and I'm very sensitive about that. An Israeli startup called Scannery unveiled a powerful new AI-driven security scanner. This technology can screen up to 25,000 people per hour, detecting threats in public places like airports, public transit, and stadiums. The initiative, led by a former engineer behind the Iron Dome, uses radar and artificial intelligence to detect weapons and explosives without stopping people. The technology allows for seamless, real-time scanning in places unlike traditional checkpoints. For example, traditional checkpoints at entrances have long lines and each person passes through a metal detector. They check bags. Well, using Scannery's system, people can just walk through entrances without having to stop. The CEO of Scannery claims that the system protects public spaces without compromising speed, privacy, or comfort. Scannery has already raised $3.5 million in funding and is pursuing U.S. regulatory approval after obtaining validation in Europe. Well, that's a nice win for Israeli society. All right, well, that is it for today's show. Today is Monday, August 4th, 2025. Tel Aviv has a low of 26 degrees Celsius and a high of 30 degrees. That's 79 degrees Fahrenheit for the low, going up to 86 degrees for the high. We are everywhere. Don't forget to sign up to our Israel Weekly News Wrap. The Israel Weekly News Wrap is a newsletter with the top 5 stories coming out of Israel from throughout the week, and of course with a personal note from me at the top. You can sign up for that at israeldailynews.org. I'll send you off with a song called Sibat HaSibot by Nicole Raviv and Elon Eckhart. I just recently met him in person at an event that I hosted for Tribe Tel Aviv. That was fun to see the man who's strumming on those guitar strings in this song and singing. Enjoy this song and have a great and productive day and an excellent week. Shavua Tov, everyone.
תשיבי את הרוח, תוריד ממני את הגשם, היה לי ים זמן לנוח, התרגלתי קצת בעצם, ובמרחב הפתוח, רואים באופק את השמש, אין ספק אני בטוח, בסוף עוד תתבהר הדרך, רק פתח לנו שערי אמונה, שערי הבנה, שאין לנו מלך.